Zachary just joined the panel. How are you, Zachary? Great to see you, my brother.
Activity.
Yeah.
I don't think, and I'll have to push back on that, Freezy. I think what it is that, and many of us are guilty of it, and I try to curb it myself, is whenever you speak in absolutes or hyperbola, you make it too easy to be pushed back upon. And I think that becomes the prime issue on a lot of stuff where you hear, because generally, and shout out to you, Freezy, smart people on the internet, I find, tend to congregate around the same water holes. People who do some thinking, do some studying, do some traveling. The problem is they're not used to doing some communicating. And they have to be, everybody can't, in order for me to be right, somebody got to be wrong. And the problem with that, in my opinion, is is Black people's plight in this country has so many heads as a monster that any one of them you bring up, it's going to be hard to be wrong. It's that bad. So instead of finding out, and again, I'll say this and land the plane. Dear brothers and sisters, when it's time to disagree, maybe we should do this. Number one, start where we agree. Start where we agree. We agree on something, whatever that is. Then work out to the nasty, filthy, frothy fringe of where we don't agree. And as we go through that, understand that the reason we don't agree was not something I did to you or something you did to me, but something that was done to us. If you start with them three tenets, it gets awful hard to get in a pissing match. It's hard because then it's not about you. It's about the situation. And you bring up great situations that men up here and women run, not walk, to make it about themselves. And that shit is it's counterproductive. Nobody who watches this in the future, which is the reason I do it, I don't do it for you rusty bastards. I do it for the people 100 years from now, 150 years from now, that are going to come across this and need wisdom because they were failed by those who came before me, because those who came before me didn't want to hear a goddamn thing I had to say. So they're going to come looking for wisdom and they're going to find this. But you know what they're going to have to fish through? Niggas arguing over bullshit because they just got to be right. I'm done.
Okay. Shout out to you, Jeff. What's going on, Zach? What's on your mind, Zach? What's your initial thoughts, man?
I just want to say, I like what Jeff just said about doing this for the people of the future. I've been on YouTube trying to stop this race war that the media has been trying to contrive for, in a sense, all of my lifetime. But especially, if you guys didn't notice, in the time that we got the first Black president, the media really started pushing racial divisiveness, Trayvon Martin, and all the subsequent stories that have come after. I wanted to educate about something you were just talking about, Caesar Borgia, where the likeness of white Jesus came from. A lot of people overlook in history that the day Tupac died on Caesar Borgia's birthday, and then they rushed out the Machiavelli album, a play on Machiavelli, and Machiavelli wrote The Prince based on Caesar Borgia. You might have noticed when Prince died in 2016, a couple weeks later, Tupac's mom was announced dead on May 3rd. She died the day prior, but the news broke May 3rd. That's the real Machiavelli's birthday. So Prince dies.
Yeah, rest in peace, Afemi.
Yeah, Prince dies, and then Tupac's mom's literally announced dead on the real Machiavelli's birthday. These things aren't coincidental or an accident. And by the way,
dude. Yes, you right on the money.
Yeah, that's why I said rest in peace, Afeni Shakur.
So when the Machiavelli album released, if you want to look at it, released November 5th, 96. Tupac died September 13th, which is Caesar Borgia's birthday, who was the son of a pope. Again, we're on a calendar named after a pope. We're speaking the English language, which was established at the same time as the calendar by the Jesuits, who were the military order of the pope. The day that they released the Machiavelli album is the day in history that the Jesuits tried to blow up King James. And I'm open to this idea. I've heard it proposed many times that King James actually wasn't white. And of course, the King James, when most people hear that name now, they think of LeBron. And a lot of people overlook that when LeBron won the only finals for the Cavaliers, he won it on the real King James's birthday, June 19th, which is also Juneteenth, associated with the freeing of the slaves.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
And the other thing people overlook the whole time is just King James playing on the Cavs. The son of King James was King Charles, and those who fought for King Charles in the English Civil War were called Cavaliers. Of course, they also had LeBron play his first career game when he was new to the NBA out of high school against the Kings, and he played exactly 42 minutes. And of course, when you think 42 and black athletes, you think of Jackie Robinson, number 42. But he actually wasn't the first black baseball player in white major league, Jackie. If you look it up, it was actually Moses Walker, and you'd never believe it, but he played in exactly 42 games. And the question becomes, why might there be an association with 42 in black history coming back to the Bible? Do you know how the New Testament begins, Freezy?
Go ahead and educate us.
The New Testament, Matthew 1, begins with the 42 generations to Jesus. The 42 generations divided into 3 sections of 14. And of course, the only physical description of Jesus in the Bible is Revelation 1:14 through 16, and it describes a man with hair that's white like wool. And a lot of people want to say the like wool part is only describing the color of the whiteness, but I feel like there's a lot of ways to describe white without saying like wool. But of course, the sentence after that is describing a man with darker complected skin. So you'd have to think this man is somewhat of African ancestry. And then you see in more modern times a label like Interscope, which is run by 2 Catholic Jesuit educated men, having Tupac die on Caesar Borgia's birthday, and then rushing out the album for the anniversary of the Jesuits trying to kill King James. Again, the point I'm making is these things aren't an accident. And what I've educated about for the last 12 years, my research started around the time of the Michael Brown killing, August 9th, Well, actually, it started a year before that, but I started presenting on YouTube around the time of the Michael Brown killing. Do you recall the Michael Brown killing, I'm sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember how they waited a while to put out the name and image of the officer? It came a number of days later, and they put out the image of this blonde-haired, blue-eyed man, Darren Wilson, and he had a Blues hockey shirt. Of course, that's the St. Louis hockey team. St. Louis Blues with a big 42 on the shirt, right? 42.
Mm-hmm.
And right now you see this thing going on in society. People are all caught up in this Carmelo Anthony story. Carmelo Anthony supposedly...
Please don't say 42 is associated somewhere in this Carmelo Anthony story.
Well, what day did the news break?
Go ahead.
The news broke on April 2nd. It broke on 4/2, which is that's Rodney King's birthday anniversary. It's kind of like the white kid Dylan Stormroof that shot up the black church in Charleston on the anniversary of Rodney King's death.
Excuse me, Brother Zachary.
Yeah.
You're going to get absolute pushback, and I won't count this room, but just wait till you get through talking.
Yeah, he sounds like a numerologist, but let's listen.
Are you a numerologist?
I'm not a numerologist, but the people who control the world and the media.
Absolutely. Hold on, Zachary. Hold on, Zachary, for just a second. You need to hear this. You're going to get absolute pushback from anything that cannot be found directly in the King James Version of the Bible whenever you talk to black people.
And before Zachary got up here, I wanted to give some pushback to Uncle Jeff because I love him.
Okay, I'll say this and I'll land the plane.
Zachary came up here as a numerologist.
Okay, let me redo it then, Nightish. Let me redo it. I never talk in 100% of anything, but I'm going to tell you that most of the people
like generalities, though. Uncle.
Please, Nightish, I'm gonna try it one more time and then I'm gonna let you have it.
I only say short things. It will never be long.
Okay, you go right ahead. Never mind.
No, you go ahead. All I was saying it just sound like blanket indictments, but you got it. Go ahead.
Yes, cats fucking sound like babies crying till you look.
No, it sounds like that's right.
Yes, cats fucking sound like babies crying till you take a good look. I'm asking you to take a good look.
Yeah, you got it.
What I am saying is that most people who do not put raisins in their potato salad that know the electric slide are going to push back
That was
entirely
racist.
on you. Well, no, it's not racist because racism is a team sport about keeping people down. And I don't know how to do that. I'm black. I don't do that. Anyway,
You want to though, right?
no, I'd like to finish my thought, Nidus, if that's okay.
Do you want to keep people down? Is the question I ask you.
No, I don't. Here's what I want to do, Nidus. I want to act like I want to pretend that you don't think your thoughts are more important than mine, and you let me finish.
You think your thoughts are more important?
Okay, you got it. Done.
Do you mind if I finish the point real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm used to pushback. I've been here for 12 years. I've written 2 books about this topic. So, again, if you look it up, the Carmelo Anthony story that's created all this attention and the media, social media trying to do this race baiting thing, that story broke on April 2nd. And it was also the day that the only Carmelo Anthony any of us had probably ever heard of before in our life was nominated to the Hall of Fame. So that should make you go, wow, Carmelo, Hall of Fame, and then a Carmelo Anthony stabbing on the exact same day? That doesn't seem suspicious. Again, I've been educating about how our media is nothing but programming. It is propaganda. It is to keep people in agendas. It's to keep people divided. I don't need to explain to darker complected people what the media has done for decades to promote stereotypes and help us arrive at this moment we're now in. But I just want you to look at these other stories that are buzzing right now. Chris Brown supposedly attacked a man in Black History Month, February, with a Don Julio 42 bottle. And if you go back and look at that date that supposedly happened, February 19, 2023, that would have been 42 weeks into his life. Right now, you got Tory Lanez stabbed by a 42-year-old, 42 weeks into his life. This stuff happens all the time. So much attention on Puff Daddy, a.k.a. Diddy, a.k.a. Sean Combs, and the freak-offs. This stuff becomes more interesting when you learn the ancient practice of coding numbers into words. All three of the...
Is 42 somewhere in the freak-off situation? Whatever?
Absolutely. And by the way, for anyone who followed my work, a year before it happened, I explained to people why Diddy was going down at age 54 and what it had to do with R. Kelly going down at 54 and why they killed Clarence Avant 54 years after he established Sussex Records. This is a whole nother topic, but it all goes back to these Jesuits, who are the greatest purveyors of slavery in American history, as Abe Lincoln once said. Abe Lincoln said, the Civil War was created by the Jesuits. Jefferson and Adams both said, the Jesuits can take over. Again, the point, I'll get to the point in a second, but again, let me rewind. All of the biblical languages, Hebrew, Aramaic, ancient Greek, every letter is a number. Every letter is a number. They're alphanumeric systems. We learned about alphanumeric systems through Roman numerals in school, pledging to 13 stripes for 13 years. And what I learned in a book written in 1926 by an author, Manly P. Hall, who wrote a lot of books, his book is The Secret Teachings of All Ages, published in 1926, he reveals that the English language is also an alphanumeric system. And he doesn't elaborate on it. He just tells you it's the alphabetic order. It's the alphabetic order with numerology applied, and it's doing the same thing in reverse. Thus, the reverse alphabetic order, the reverse alphabetic order in numerology. So there's 4 base ciphers of the English language. And listen to these words that equal 42. Slavery, Tuskegee, the N-word, February, as in Black History Month. How about these 3 guys? None of these guys have the birth name, but Martin, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali. All of those names equate to 42. Moses Walker equates to 42, the first black baseball player who played in 42 games. The name Jackie is 42. Huxtable is 42. Cosby Show is 42. The list goes on. This number is stamped all over Black history. And if you look through every major racial psy-op that's happened in this nation, I'm talking Rodney King
What was Jackie Robinson's number?
42. 42.
Zachary, can you put your channel in the back chat so we can follow you and see some of your stuff?
Yeah, it's actually up on that black thing behind me if you can make it up. It's Gematria. Well, I just rechanged. If you search GematriaEffectNews, I'll come up.
Just put it in the back chat so we can see what's going on.
I'll drop the link. And by the way, if you guys want to look up, I've made my books free to download as ebooks. If you search my name on Amazon, you'll find my books. But I made them free to download as ebooks. If you just search Zachary K. Hubbard Patreon, you don't need to support my Patreon. Just on the search feature there, if you just type in ebooks, you'll find the books. I've made 800 pages. You don't have to read the whole book. By searching the book, you can find the chapter on 42 in Black history. But yeah, I'm happy to drop the link in the back chat too. So I will do that for you. And again, I don't refer
and
to
the
myself.
Black Queen, Black Beauty said, could you put it in the main chat also?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. Right now.
Is it Gematria Effect Sports?
That's my sports channel, which YouTube is just YouTube's just. I've been deleted 20 sometimes, and they've destroyed all my channels.
Or is it number games with Zachary K. Hubbard?
That's my main channel. That's where I put out most of my work.
Yeah, that's the one we want, the main channel.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna.
I'll put it in the chat. I got it.
All right.
I got it.
All right. Yeah. But yeah, you asked me.
Shout out to Chuck. Chuck, I love you more than any black woman on this planet.
Sure. I'll tell you one other thing that's interesting that equals 42. New Testament equals 42. And again, the New Testament begins with the 42 generations to Jesus. And again, the first book is Matthew. Funny enough, the word math alone is 42. And again, the fourth book of the Bible is Numbers. Historically, this letter number code is all connected to the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses. You learn this code, you'll see the way we're played with. This whole thing with the Shiloh Hendricks calling the 5-year-old the N-word in Minnesota 5 years after George Floyd, and then supposedly raising nearly $1 million. Again, all of this stuff is psychological operations to piss people off, because I can only imagine how that makes people feel. A woman calls a 5-year-old the N-word, and people online are saying, yeah, good for her. Yeah, I'm glad she raised $1 million when most of us slave away and we're lucky to make 50 G's a year. You'd have to work pretty much a lifetime after taxes to collect $1 million.
So do you think that's offensive also to non-black people as well, that this woman was able to make close to $1 million off of this?
I'd say it's offensive to any hardworking person. And especially people who just don't, again, there's a lot of people of all colors who don't like to see this racial divisiveness that's promoted in the media and social media. And I'd encourage people to wake up too, because YouTube is just as controlled as the nightly news. Yours truly, I used to average over 100,000 views per video in 2017. And they have
really?
I hit over 500,000 views so many times back then. My channel was monstrous back then because I called every sports future. That's what most people were into. I literally called Prince's death before it happened because his girlfriend died the day of the Grammys. I can explain all this stuff to you. For example, Prince had the hit song, I Would Die For You, spelled with the number 4 and the letter U. U is the 21st letter. What day did Prince die? He died on 4/21, the Queen's birthday, after his girlfriend died the day of the 58th Grammys. I can explain to you all these things if you really want to know, but I don't want to take over your show. I'll just make a long story short, that was the year of the 58th election, and that's why Trump announced from the 58-story Trump Tower. And of course, Prince did have the song Black Donald Trump. In this code of letters and numbers, Freemasonry equals 58, so does Rosicrucian, so does Secret Society, so does Solomon's Temple. The first degree of Freemasonry is the honored apprentice, thus the apprentice in the 58th election. Again, you learn this knowledge. I'll tell you one more thing though, since I went on that little tangent. 42 in Black history. Look at the three first black quarterbacks to win the Super Bowl. Doug Williams for the Redskins does it with 42 points, setting a record in the game. 4 touchdowns in the second quarter. The second black quarterback to win the Super Bowl, Russell Wilson, representing Washington, the 42nd state. The Seahawks get their symbolism from the local Native American tribes. So you have the Redskins, you got the Seahawks with the Native American connection, not to mention Seattle's named after Chief Seattle, Native American. And then who was the third black quarterback to win a Super Bowl? Patrick Mahomes, playing for the Chiefs, who had 42 pass attempts in the game and who also got the Chiefs to 4-2 in Super Bowls on the 42nd day of the year. That was in Super Bowl 58.
So you're saying, do you think there's a spiritual aspect to this, or you think this was pre-planned, or what? All of this can't be like pre-planned. There's got to be a spiritual aspect to what you're saying, right?
Well, there's definitely a spiritual aspect, because this whole practice of letters and numbers comes from Kabbalah, which is a spiritual study, mostly within Judaism, but it's been adopted by other cultures. If you look into Kabbalah, where this whole thing of letters and numbers comes from, there's a good half, which is about understanding your relationship with Creator and understand this letters and numbers parts. It's a small component of Kabbalah. And there's an evil half of Kabbalah. It's known as the Clip-Off, and it's about sorcery and spell casting and using the knowledge of Kabbalah to have influence over others. And think about the word spell in light of that, to create words, to do magic. And we're talking about these encoded words with numbers and repetitive numbers and these numerical rituals. I've actually been listening to your show for a while today. I was doing a whole bunch of chores. Somebody came on
really?
here.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, you know what? You know the way YouTube works is I've been trying to watch all these people's video about this black fatigue, which is this total psy-op term, and it's just feeding into this whole, Carmelo Anthony.
Do you think a psy-op has been created upon Black Americans? Do you think Black Americans have suffered psyops or whatever?
Oh, we all have. But yeah, I would say especially Black Americans. I wanted to make a point, though, about the 3 first Black quarterbacks winning Super Bowls and all playing for the native teams, the 3 most native teams in the NFL. Again, I think they are trying to tell you something. For people who don't know, all of the American sports leagues or sports, football, baseball, basketball, all of the major sports in America, every single one is credited to a Freemason. Football's Walter Camp, Freemason, Skull and Bones member. Skull and Bones out of Yale. Baseball's Doubleday, Abner Doubleday. Basketball's Naismith. These men are all Masons, just like a lot of the founders of this country are Masons. And Masonry is based in Kabbalah. And then that's where this whole letter and number piece fits in. But these are the people who've been controlling the nation, these secret societies from its beginning, and they control its sports leagues too. I mean, again, as they say, all roads lead to Rome. The Colosseum was used to control the people in Rome. It's absolutely used to control the people here. You take away the sports leagues, a lot of the men aren't pacified anymore. They might actually be outraged about the terrible things happening. They might actually stand up and do something about it rather than park them on their rear end and watch football all weekend. But again, they're trying to tell you something through these sports leagues. What I've been educating about for years, and we're really good at nailing futures, is every sports championship is a tribute to history. It's always about history with each league. And we can get into this another time, but they're trying to tell you something by showing you that all 3 of the first Black quarterbacks to win a Super Bowl do it in a 42 ritual for the native teams. And again, if you look into where 42 comes from, you could say it comes from the New Testament and the 42 generations to Jesus, but a lot of things in the Bible are borrowed from other spiritualities. When I say 40,
you're saying all the Black quarterbacks that have won the Super Bowl play for a Native American themed team
until this year, until Jalen Hurts did it in Super Bowl 59, and yeah, because Jalen Hurts was the first. So realize Mahomes. Okay. The point I wanted to make about 42 is the 42 laws of Ma'at.
This kind of is getting a little creepy, though. Go ahead. I'm listening to you.
The 42 laws of Ma'at goes back to Egypt, and Egypt has a lot to do with
listen, what he's saying sounds great, but he kind of long-winded. We got to move it around. Let's listen to Uncle Jeff some.
No. He's going to land his plane. I think he's almost...
No, I think he's just flying. He ain't nowhere near the airport.
You about to land your plane, right, Zachary? I think he's
I can land it. For my man Nidish who just said that, if you're listening to everything I'm saying, it's actually a pretty comprehensive understanding. Again, civilization, as we understand it, a lot of it does go back to Egypt. The Greeks borrowed from the Egyptians. Mathematics, obviously the Romans took over after the Greeks, and here we are as the new Rome. But Egypt... are we to think that this advanced civilization didn't sail the seas? Are we to think that their people didn't end up in other parts of the world? Are we to think that there weren't already people from the African continent here in America when the white Europeans came along? I think they're trying to tell you that through the NFL, that there were definitely Black natives already here, and not everybody came over in slave ships. To make a point about Super Bowl 59 being the first Super Bowl where a Black quarterback won, and it wasn't one of the native teams. Look at this. It was Super Bowl 59. So in this gematria code, slave, Negro, Rasta, blues, they all equate to 59. Black History Month ends on the 59th day of the year, except for in leap years. Motown Records came out in 59. In Detroit on the 42nd parallel. And by the way, if you ever saw Martin said in Detroit, he lived in apartment 42. So this was Super Bowl 59. You might recall last year, O.J. Simpson died, and they announced his death right as the Masters was teeing off, showing him in a golf cart from the day of the Super Bowl on the 42nd day of the year. OJ died 59 days after the Super Bowl. In the Bible, Ephesians 6, verses 5 through 9, are slaves, obey your masters. The most infamous verses in the Bible about slavery. Verses 5 through 9, again, slave, Negro, Rasta, blues, all equal 59. Another big number that they use in black rituals all the time in the media, 4259. This is what I wrote about in my book, how they use these numbers together, just like how OJ dies 59 days after the 42nd day of the year. Now, I just told you the other half of the code's run in the alphabetic order in reverse. Slave, Negro, Rasta, blues, all equal 76 if you run it in reverse, like Acts 7:6 is about 400 years of slavery. And for the record, Barack Obama equals 76. His Secret Service name, Renegade, equals 59. Black History Month was recognized by the feds in 76. OJ's dead at 76 as the Masters tees off, 59 days after the last Super Bowl in the offseason before Super Bowl 59, where finally a black quarterback wins it who's not on one of the native teams. All of this stuff is ritualism. And for one more thing, this year's Super Bowl 59 was on the 40th day of the year, and the winning score was 40. Think about slavery and 40 acres and a mule, the promise that was never followed through with. What's funny is if you write out 40 acres and a mule, it equates to 105, and this was the 105th NFL season they did that ritual in. Like I said, they're always paying tribute to history with these leagues. And you watch what they do when you see all these young players, college and pro, constantly dying in the offseason, right before the season starts up, right before the playoffs come around, right before there's a championship game. You notice these suspicious deaths of these young athletes, sometimes they're current, sometimes they're former. These are ritual sacrifices, and they are almost always stamping 42 and 59 on the death of these young black men. And this is what I wrote the book about: the ritual sacrifice and the ritual shaming of the black people by a systematic numerical code. And no, I'm not the numerologist. I'm the one that looked into why this was happening. So,
okay, let me. So let me go to Nightish. Nightish, what do you think about what Zachary said?
I would like to give up my time to Uncle Jeff.
Go ahead, Uncle Jeff. What do you think, Uncle Jeff?
Wow. Well, number one, I think we and thank you so much for all of that, Zachary. What I think we don't understand is that we can all agree that mathematics is not about just numbers. It is a language. It is a universal language. And if you're smart, you understand that God loves math. Cut open an orange. Take a good look. If mathematics, along with music, is one of God's core languages, then numerology is not about altering an outcome for numerology's sake. Numerology is a forecast of energy and what you put into the river to connect to that particular energy via numbers. And if that's wrong, then you're gonna have to deal with the with the scientists at NASA who use the same numerology before they send shit to Mars. You're gonna have to deal with every great general from Genghis Khan forward who had numerologists tell them when and where to attack. This is not, I tell you the movie that comes closest to it. There's a movie called Knowing with Nicolas Cage.
Yep, that's a good
when
one.
he figures out that these numbers are about events that are going to happen, that have happened because they fall into these numbers. When you look at a computer, it is built upon the numbers 0 and 1. Just trillions and billions and bajillions of them. So instead of looking at, which is what my people have been most guilty of, is when they hear the knowledge that Zachary has, the number one place they put it in is blasphemy, not understanding that that's your shit before any of you spoke English. Before the first white man looked out a window or took a shit over 2 shoes, this shit was real. and has been for a very long time, but most of us in America have blinders on past 500 years ago. So yes, I am glad this brother put the numerology out as another concept that, of course, is going to have to be bounced against the feeble knowledge of the King James Version of the Bible. I just don't get it. Everything you were talking about, Brother Zachary, everybody who speaks in that direction takes a little or a lot of ass kicking anywhere near black folks that have been to church. And I don't give a fiddler's fuck who don't like that sentence. When deep down tonight, when it get real quiet and they get ready to lay down and go to sleep, they're gonna have to agree with that shit right there. I'm not the only I ain't the only one with a grandmama that told you everything you don't hear from a Bible is some bullshit. I'm not the only one up here, but everybody, I don't know how many people is gonna come on and be honest, but that's what's up. And I'm glad you brought it up. I'm done.
Shout out to Romello for his $5 super cap. He said 1920s Cleveland Indian mascot was a little black boy. I'm glad white man can confirm what other black people have been saying.
That's what it takes.
Romello is still the official sponsor of today's show. He upped the ante to $57 to become a co-sponsor or official sponsor of today's show. Only $50, $57 or more.
I would like to hear Zachary's perspective on Gematria.
Before Zach goes again, I don't want to get the ladies in here too. Zach, are you a big believer of Kemet? Like, do you follow Kemet, whatever?
I wouldn't say that. No.
Oh, okay. I know you mentioned the 42 laws of Ma'at, whatever. So, but go ahead. What are you going to ask Zachary Nightish?
No, I'll let Fear No Mortals and Mo Love go, and I'll ask
Mo Love, Fear No Mortals. You guys, I don't know how much you guys have heard or been listening in. What do you think about what Zach introduced to the conversation? Fear No Mortals, Mo Love, are you there? There you go.
I'm here.
Yeah. Did you hear some of the stuff that Zach was introducing to the conversation as far as the numbers and whatnot? And I know he was saying that some of it can be used for good, some of it could be used for bad. He was talking about sorcery. We talked about the spiritual aspect. What do you think about the numbers and the correlation he was making with real life people and stuff?
I don't really have much to say about that stuff. I'll pass it to Mo Love.
Okay, we're gonna go to Mo Love. What do you think, Mo Love? Are you there, Mo Love? Okay, no, okay, so Mo Love not there. So yeah, so Zach, I'm gonna be honest with you, Zach. Like, I still need convincing. Like, I don't know how much of that is coincidence and how much of it is what'd you say, Nightish?
It can't be that much coincidence. I want to ask him about Gematria.
Gematria, okay, go ahead. He's asking you about Gematria, Zachary.
I'm listening, yeah.
Could I just real quick? The only thing I heard that I disagree with is that Barack Obama, by the definition of him being the first black president, by genetics, is not the first black president. He's ninth. There were 9 presidents before him.
Real quick, since you brought up Obama,
black presidents that they said was white, but they were black.
Real quick, since you brought up Obama,
they were Moors, in fact.
Yeah, a couple.
Since you brought up Obama, you can look. He announced he was running February 10th, 2007. That was the day he officially announced he was running for president. That was 31 years to the day of the feds recognizing Black History Month on February 10th, 76. And like I said, Barack Obama equals 76 like slave. There's 4 base ciphers of the language. Slave also equals 14 and 31, as does Obama. 31 years to the day he announces he's running. These are rituals, and it's not just Obama. They're doing this with every president. They got these. Come on, people, dude. They got these people on a system. And about 76, you just saw George Foreman died at 76, who also won 76 fights. Of course, he died in Houston, and the very next day, the Houston Cougars won their game 81-76. Like Foreman fought in 81 fights and won 76. The Cougars picked up their 42nd win in the tournament that day. Big George, his nickname equals 42. And of course, that's also connected to George Floyd, which we could get into if you really wanted to, which also they tried to set a race war off of it. And again, they're doing that now with 5 years later, Shiloh Hendricks calling the 5-year-old the N in the same city. I do got to hop off here in a second, though, but if you guys have any questions for me, I'll answer them real quick.
Yeah. Have you gotten into like the numerological aspect in correlation with social media? Like the algorithm? I'm just shooting from the hip right now. Like with the algorithm or or with social media in general. Have you did any research on that? Is there a correlation with numbers and social media?
You've asked me a question that I haven't really looked into, so I could research that topic. I haven't done a whole lot on that.
Yeah, because I think that social media is the current day television, and people are trying to break into it every day, right? And I'm thinking that if this concept is relevant in past applications, we can apply it to past things like television, sports.
Well, he said
if you're saying the powers that be utilize these concepts.
You know what? Hold on. Let me rewind, actually. I guess I have done a little work on this. You're jogging my memory. So, do you know that Facebook launched the same day that DARPA's LifeLog ended? Did you know that?
The Facebook launched what? Say it again.
So Facebook's launch date is February 4th, 2004. That's the same day that DARPA's LifeLog ended. DARPA's the military technology thing in the government.
Okay.
And LifeLog was pretty much the same thing as Facebook. And you might have seen quotes over the years from people working for the feds, like CIA heads saying that, it's never been easier for the federal government to gather people's data and information than in the age of social media, thanks to things like Facebook. So what I suspect at the end of the day is that Facebook really is DARPA. Mark Zuckerberg's this invented character, has the same birthday as Israel. If you've never seen the footage from when he was in Germany.
Back up. Mark Zuckerberg is an invented character?
I'm pretty sure that everybody, for all these big tech, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, go down the line. They're all characters. To make a point, they said Elon Musk.
We all heard that the world is a stage and everybody plays a part, so they all characters. But I want him to say something about Gematria. That what is his perspective on that right there before he leaves.
Can you clarify more what you want me to say about it?
Anything that you have to say about it?
Well, what Jeff just said about how this all comes back to energy is 1,000% correct. This does all come back to energy. If you've ever looked into, again, because Kabbalah is part of the ancient mystery religions, and you could say Kabbalah is at the forefront of that. Right behind it would be Hermeticism. And if you've never looked into the 7 Hermetic principles, you should absolutely read the 7 Hermetic principles. They're very short to read, but you can think about them for the rest of your life. One of the Hermetic principles, did you want to read that first?
No, I was just showing it to everybody. I just, I was just showing it. I usually don't read. I only read super chats.
Oh, okay. I thought you wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, if you don't spend no money, fuck what you're talking about.
Hey, man, the only reason I spit this out is because what you will find is that lower frequency thinkers, and they tend to dwell in the chat rooms online. It's so much easier to type shit in your drawers than it is to really do any homework. You are going to find that lower energy thinkers always find another place to come against you other than what you're talking about.
I don't think
that's what I'm getting at. I'm talking directly to the people in the chat. It's dear people in the chat who don't agree with this, who say this white boy is a troll. He working for one of them 3-letter agencies. He only targets black people, blah, blah, blah.
We should never acknowledge them unless
the point is, it's too late. Your subconscious has been exposed to ways of thinking, designs, spiritual affect that come before what you were taught. So tonight, when you go to sleep, you can talk all the shit you want to about him and you. It's been stuck in your subconscious, and now
Nobody cares. Spend some money. We should never acknowledge them. Hecklers should not get the glorification that they get.
They're not. They're not. Again, everything I say is for people 100 years from now. I ain't talking to these niggas in here. I am saying what I'm saying because it needs to be said. Because every time that something comes against what Big Mama said, niggas got something to say and don't know shit about where they came from. Most of them ain't got a passport. Most of them ain't been to a country. The only countries they go to outside of this country is another palm tree to fuck under. I'm talking to them people that ain't never been nowhere to study their history. Don't never pick up a book about that contradicts what they already think. I'm talking to them people. Their subconscious has been hijacked today, and I'm thankful this dude did it.
I got to wrap this up, but just to give you guys something else recent real quick. If you want to go back to 2019, Kamala Harris did something on CNN called Question My Blackness, and she did it on the 42nd day of the year, which was the anniversary of her mother's death, who was Indian. If you want to do the math on what she just got in the electoral college, where our elections are completely predetermined, she got 42% of the electorate. And you might have noticed that the day that the election was called for Trump, Tony Todd died, who did Candyman. And in the latest Candyman movie, they say it's set 42 years later. If you just read the plot of the film, it says that right in there. And not to mention, if you watch the film where they go to the room where the killing happened, there's a big 42 painted on the wall. So I'm making the point that there is a spiritual element to this, but there's also a programming element where they're always putting the same numbers in front of you. And like I'm saying, once you learn this and pay attention, you're going to see black celebrities are getting shamed left and right. Freak-offs equals 42, just like Puff Daddy. And like I said, there's 4 base ciphers. Freak-offs also equals 87, like Puff Daddy. Puff Daddy dropped out of Howard in 87. Of course, Kamala went to Howard as well. And Diddy went down at the same time Kamala went down in the election. And of course, Diddy was Mr. Voter Die. Again, all of this stuff is
how does freak-offs equal 42?
So these are the 4 base ciphers, right? The most simple is the alphabetic order. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, up to Z is 26. The next cipher is the alphabetic order with numerology applied. So A is still 1, up to Z is 26, but you apply numerology to each letter. So that means when you get to J, which is the 10th letter, it becomes 1 plus 0. So J, the 10th letter, is worth 1. K, the 11th letter, would be 1 plus 1 is 2. L, the 12th letter, would be 1 plus 2 is 3. Do you follow what I'm saying?
I probably will once I watch the replay.
So I'll spell out freak-off. So F is the 6th letter of the alphabet, right? First letter in freak-offs is F. So F is 6. R is the 8th.
Okay, gotcha.
R is the 18th letter. You would take the numerology at 18. So 1 plus 8 is 9. So the R is worth 9 in freak-offs. E is 5. A is 1. So on. Freak-offs equals 42, just like Puff Daddy. And like I said, there's 4 base ciphers. If you do all 4 ciphers, you'll see that freak-offs and Puff Daddy.
Wait, why is R 3?
No, R is 9.
R is 18.
It's the 18th
R is
letter.
18, right?
Right. So you take the numerology of 18, which is 1 plus 8 is 9. You follow?
Yeah, you kind of cheated just then.
No, that's not cheating. That goes back to Pythagoras, because so the Pythagoreans are the original Masons.
That's the Pythagorean theorem.
Well,
okay, gotcha.
It's not exactly the Pythagorean theorem. That's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But it goes back to Pythagoras, who said the only true numbers are 1 through 9. So he would break down every number to a single digit. So if the number was 1,011, he'd say that's truly 3, because 1 plus 0 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. So gotcha. I'm not cheating. That's an ancient system of doing things that's way older than all of us.
Yes, actually, to get, and forgive me, I'm just saying this parenthetically. It's called Boolean logic.
Boolean, yeah.
And again,
Boolean logic is about breaking numbers down from larger numbers.
Before you leave, Zach, I did want to ask you about black fatigue, just for generalized purposes, whatever.
Go ahead.
Of the top of the show.
Go ahead.
What do you think about this newfound concern about black fatigue? White and black
It's
conservatives,
just not new.
along with other non-black conservatives, are saying that they're tired of black people's behavior, and this is become an epidemic and a major concern all across the nation.
Well, this is what I've been talking about since the time of Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown, how they're trying to build these narratives. You know, I was born in '83, and I think most people born around my time, you know, we felt like racism was kind of a thing that was more of the past. We were learning to get along, that there wasn't all this animosity. Everybody's listening to everybody's music. Again, when they install Obama as the president, all of a sudden the media becomes super focused on you know, Trayvon Martin and all the stories like this. And the next thing you know, social media is building, and you just see, right? Am I not wrong about this right now? There's like a video of a white guy in a cowboy hat and a video of a black dude in shades with a baseball cap on, and everybody's just syndicating their videos right now, doing this black fatigue and getting all these views because the algorithm wants that out there. That this YouTube platform's no different than your mainstream media. They're trying to get all the same divisiveness out there. They're making sure that stuff goes. And notice, so for example, you're not getting a lot of views covering this topic because you're not one of their chosen agents. You got to be one of their chosen agents to get pushed in the algorithm at this point. They've filtered everybody else out. Everybody else has gotten muted.
Just give it some time, Zach. He'll get there.
Well, you can build your channel, but I hope you do great. But realize that YouTube is controlling who's getting out there, and they want their agents of chaos to get pushed.
Shadow ban and do all. Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. If you don't know who Mark Dice is, he has a video right now referring to black people as creatures. His channel's never been deleted. He's getting millions of views. I've been deleted 20-some times for doing videos just like this. I've always kept it even keel, you know, just presenting knowledge. I've been deleted 20-some times, and I've been totally shadow banned and destroyed. Mark Dice continues to be out there. Mark Dice has been race baiting for years. He's now got 2 million subs on this platform. Look at all the videos he's doing right now. He refers to black people as creatures, and YouTube's allowing that to get views. That just shows you how there's these chosen agents out here like him that get to be part of this. He's got some of the most views on this black fatigue topic. But again, all this is noise and static, and they're trying to get people caught up in the programming. The game in America is to keep everybody distracted and fighting amongst themselves and not seeing how they're ruled over by a smaller and smaller group of people who control more and more of the wealth and power. And they're putting that on display even with their puppet show with you got, you know, what? How many people were standing behind Trump at his inauguration? 4 guys that have the same amount of wealth as half of America combined. Again, that's the thing that everyone should be talking about, how the wealth disparity got so crazy, how America got to this point where, you know, 50 years ago, one man could work. We're talking about a black household, white household. One man could work and pay all the bills and not be in debt and afford to send his child to a 4-year education after high school. How did we get so far away from that? How come nobody's talking about these things, but they're like, black fatigue? It's a joke, and that's why my message has always been about, you guys, look at how you're getting psyoped. Look how you're getting lied to. A big message I had leading up to 2020 was you better be ready for 2020, 19 years after, you know, when the towers came down, blamed on the 19 hijackers.
Well, guess what, Zach? The 42nd president was Bill Clinton.
And they called him what?
What did they call
black president?
They called him the first black president, exactly.
Breezy has arrived.
Yeah. Think about that. They called Bill Clinton the first black president.
He played a saxophone on Arsenio Hall.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, I do got to come off, but I like your show. I'm glad it showed up in my feed. I'll definitely hit the sub button. I'll come back another time. There's lots to talk about.
Zach, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure having you, man. Thank you, man. Thank you for watching the show too.
All right, you got a new sub. Thanks, Freezy. Later, panel.
Thank you, man.
You guys have a good day.
My sister is in